The golden retriever had been sitting in front of the high chair every single morning. They thought he wanted scraps. They were looking at entirely the wrong thing. Biscuit was a 7-year-old golden retriever who had always been food motivated in the cheerful, uncomplicated way that goldens tend to be. He sat politely at mealtimes. He watched your fork. He was not above hoping. So when he began stationing himself in front of 14-month-old Margot's high chair each morning before breakfast, her father Owen Tran read it exactly the way a reasonable person would read it. The dog had learned that the baby's chair was a reliable source of dropped food, and was positioning himself for maximum return. He mentioned it to his wife Clara at breakfast. She laughed. She agreed. She was a second-grade teacher with no professional reason to interpret dog behavior differently from her husband. The dog was begging. The dog had become clever about where to beg. This was a habit that would need correcting eventually, but was not urgent. For 3 mornings, it continued. Biscuit arrived before Margot was in the chair. He sat facing the high chair, facing the tray specifically, not moving, not looking at the food once Owen placed it there, not looking at Margot once she was buckled in, looking at the seat cushion where the tray attached to the frame. On the 4th morning, Clara noticed that detail. He's not watching her food. He's watching the side of the chair. Owen looked. The dog was, in fact, completely ignoring the banana pieces on Margot's tray, and was staring at the seam where the removable cushion sat against the plastic frame of the high chair. His nose worked in small, quick movements. He pressed his nose to the edge of the tray, retreated, pressed again. She said, "That's odd." Owen said, "He smells something in the crease. Probably old food." He made a mental note to clean the chair more thoroughly that weekend. They did not clean it that weekend. On Monday, Margot was fussier than usual at breakfast. She threw a piece of banana off the tray. Biscuit, who in 7 years had never passed up a piece of food dropped in his immediate vicinity, did not move for it. He stayed at the edge of the chair, nose working at the seam between cushion and frame. Clara stood in the kitchen watching him, and something shifted in her that she couldn't name. Owen was in the shower. Margot was starting to cry. The dog was still staring at the side of the high chair. She crouched down. She pulled the removable seat cushion away from the frame. There was a button battery between the cushion foam and the plastic frame of the chair. Small, silver, the kind that comes in small remote controls. It must have fallen from something. The living room remote, a small toy, during a meal, landed in the gap and been compressed between the cushion and the frame, invisible from above. She picked it up and looked at it for a long moment in the morning light. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Button batteries are among the most dangerous small objects in a domestic environment. When ingested by a child, the battery generates an electrical current that causes chemical burns to the esophageal tissue within 2 hours. The injury is silent. There is often no immediate distress visible to a parent. The burns can be catastrophic. Fatalities have occurred within 24 hours of ingestion in children under 3. Children who are old enough to pick things up and put them in their mouths are the highest risk group. Margot was 14 months old and had been putting everything within reach into her mouth for 6 weeks. The battery had been between the cushion and the frame for 4 days. It had been 4 days of Margot's meal times, 4 times a day, with small hands exploring the edge of the tray, the gap at the sides, the interesting textures that surrounded the food. She had not found it, but she had been close every single meal. Dr. Patricia Solano, pediatric emergency physician, confirmed when Clara called that morning that the battery was still intact, that Margot had not ingested it, and that Clara had done exactly the right thing by removing it and calling. She said, "A battery that size, in a child Margot's age, in a position that accessible during repeated meal times, the fact that she didn't ingest it across 4 days is fortunate. I'm glad you found it. What made you look?" Clara looked at Biscuit, who was lying on the kitchen floor now, entirely relaxed, the way a dog looks when it has discharged the thing it was carrying. She said, "The dog. Has your dog ever done something you couldn't explain until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard." She thought about the 3 mornings she had read his behavior as food begging. The completely reasonable, evidence-based, wrong conclusion. The way he had ignored the dropped banana on the 4th morning. A 7-year-old golden retriever who had never ignored a dropped piece of food. The way he had kept pressing his nose to the seam of the cushion, again and again. The only communication available to him. Dogs detect the metals and chemical compounds in lithium batteries through scent. The metallic oxide coating of a standard button battery produces a detectable chemical signature even when the battery is sealed and intact. Biscuit had smelled something in the gap of the high chair that did not belong there, and had returned to it every morning until someone followed his gaze to the right place. He had been trying to show them since Tuesday. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Clara threw the battery in the outdoor trash bin and came back inside. She sat down on the kitchen floor next to Biscuit and put her hand on his back and stayed there for a while. He didn't move. He exhaled slowly, the way dogs do when they've finally been given permission to stop. Tomorrow, a dog who had only been in the family for 3 weeks, and the night he proved why he was always supposed to be there.